Alright, I just recorded the whole video and I forgot to press record, so we're gonna do this again. First thing I just want to point out, Zoom has this whole new crazy thing right here, as you can see. I'm chilling down on the screen, which is very nice. I'm wearing the rare Starting Strength Boston blue shirt today. Doesn't come out very often, so I just want to draw attention to that. And lastly, draw attention to the title of this video. Cardio makes you fat. Nice little clickbait title. Clickbait title, except it's not clickbait at all. It's for reals, right? So let's get into why this happens. Why does cardio make you a big, fat, disgusting slob? And this is why, right? There's a few things you can do with your body weight. You can gain, lose, or maintain body weight. Pretty straightforward there. Out of that, there's your body composition, which is essentially the makeup of muscle and fat. And there's other stuff in there like bones and lean tissue, but the biggest percentage for gain or loss comes from your muscle and your fat, right? So that's influenced by your calories in versus your calories out. So if you eat more calories than you burn in a day, you're going to gain weight. If you eat fewer calories than you burn in a day, you're going to lose weight. Pretty straightforward, right? Out of that, you can gain muscle or you can lose muscle, and you can gain fat or you can lose fat, and that's basically it. The same goes for your other tissues, like I said, tendons, ligaments, bones, right? They can either, increase or decrease based off what you're doing. But these are the big rocks right here, right? So you can gain weight and gain muscle, and that's your most potent muscle gaining stimulus, right? You can lose weight and gain muscle as a novice, and you can stay the same weight and you can gain muscle. And then you can also do the inverse of all that too. You can gain weight and lose muscle, stay the same weight, lose muscle, blah, 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 And what it boils down to essentially is the stress that you're applying, the stimulus, and the recovery, right? So, and the adaptation that occurs after that as well. So if you're training and you're gaining weight, you're going to gain the most amount of muscle possible. If you are training and you're losing weight, assuming that you're more of a novice, you can still gain some muscle doing that. If you're training and maintaining weight, you are certainly also going to gain some muscle. It's just going to, it's kind of like a slider, like how fast is it going to happen? You gain weight, it's faster. If you lose weight, it's slower. And then the same thing with fat. More so, losing weight is going to influence fat loss, and then maintaining weight, you can lose fat slowly. You're probably not going to lose fat if you're gaining body weight, but you can gain more muscle than fat, and in turn improve your body composition by having a higher or having a lower body fat percentage at the end of that, right? All right. On the other hand, let's talk about endurance activities, aka cardio, and why they make you, as I said, fat, disgusting, reprehensible, repulsive. So what happens is, as you do cardio, well, let's talk about training. If you're doing a squat and you're doing a set of 5, you're telling your body that you need to produce a lot of force. And what do you use to produce a lot of force? Your muscles, right? So you're basically telling your body, I really need these muscles. I almost died under a barbell today. Can we please increase the size of these bad boys so that I can not die the next time this happens to me in 48 hours or in a week or whatever, right? So your body does that. It builds up muscle because that is the specific stress that you're applying to the body, right? You want it to get stronger, so it's going to do that. If you tell your body that you are, let's say you're doing cardio, right? You tell your body that you need to run thousands of steps, perhaps tens of thousands, depending on the severity of the activity, then what's going to happen is you're telling your body that you are essentially starving to death and you're going to die, right? Because what do you do when you're in a calorie deficit? If you do a catabolic activity, let's say. So let's say you're just, you're dieting, you're doing a calorie deficit. You cannot do that forever because eventually you'll die because you'll starve to death. So if you're doing cardio, what you're telling your body is that you're burning tons and tons of calories, and you're kind of starting that process to where you're eventually going to, starve to death and wind up dead, right? So I'm going to get more into that later because you might be asking yourself, well, what if you just eat food? Great point. I'll talk about that in a second to offset the cardio, right? But during the cardio, you're doing thousands of reps, so you don't need big, strong muscles for that. You actually, in order to get better at that, you need to be lighter, and you need to be smaller. And the best way to do that, because if your body's being told that you're starving to death, your main energy source is body fat, so you want to hold on to that. And the most disposable energy source is your muscle, actually. So your body's going to eat up the muscle, and it's going to keep the body fat. So even if you stay at the same weight and you do a bunch of cardio, you're actually going to very slowly lose muscle and gain body fat, right? So that's pretty nasty. Not a good idea, right? So think about what happens if you do this over the course of a week, for example, right? Let's say you're staying at the same body weight. You are eating your, you're doing your cardio first. You're doing tens of thousands of steps, so you're losing a little bit of muscle, and then as you're eating and staying in a calorie maintenance state, you are replenishing the lost muscle with like a little bit of body fat. Over the course of a week, do you think that's going to make a big difference in your body composition? Probably not, right? No big deal. If you do it over the course of a month, also probably not. Maybe something slightly visual. What about the course of a year, right? It's a little bit more. And now think of someone that's been doing this for like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Now the effect is a lot more profound. Now you have significant losses in muscle and significant gains in body fat, right? So picture a guy who is 25 or was 25 at one point. Let's say he's like 5'10" and he was like 160 at the age of 25. And at that point he had 120 pounds of lean mass on his body, lean body mass. He was like 25% body fat, which is pretty standard. And then over time, he does this. He loves cardio, loves running, biking, all that stuff. And then by the time he's 55, he's still the same body weight. He's 160. But now, he's still the same height, by the way. He didn't grow. All right, that doesn't happen. He didn't shrink. At least hopefully not. But he lost some lean mass. So now he only has 105 pounds of lean mass from his 120 pounds he had before. So he was 25% body fat. And now he's gotten more. I can't quite do that math, but he's fatter than he was before, is the point. By a pretty significant margin, as a matter of fact, right? So the diet, right, if you go ahead and, this amplifies it, is what I'm going to say. If you go ahead and do your cardio, let's say you burn like 500 calories during your cardio, right? So you pare down your muscle, then you go ahead and eat, so you replenish a little bit of the muscle. But if you eat at maintenance, at best, you just maintain the muscle that you just lost, like you just kind of like grow it back, right? But if you miss the mark by even the slightest amount, let's say you're short by like 100 calories, 200 calories, then you lose a little bit of muscle, right? Because your body's going to preferentially store the fat over the muscle since you're doing cardio. If you overshoot and you eat in a calorie surplus after your cardio, then you're just going to store excess fat, right? So picture someone or yourself that you can think of that, let's say like around the holidays going into it, you were 150, you love doing cardio, they love doing cardio, whoever you're thinking of here, right? Over the holidays, they gained weight up to 155. And let's say it was all body fat, right? So they gained body fat up to 155. They got fatter. After the holidays, they're like, I gotta lean back down to 150. So they start doing a bunch of cardio. They lean back down to 150. That's great, they lose the weight. But here's the problem. In using cardio as their main exercise source, they sent a stimulus to their body to tear up the muscle, to get smaller. So in going up to 155 and then back down to 150, they actually gained a bunch of body fat, and then when they lost the weight back down, they probably lost almost as much muscle as fat because they were in a calorie deficit and they were already sending a signal to their body to get rid of muscle mass, right? So it amplifies it to a degree. And then think of, like I said, 10, 20, 30 years of that. Over that period of time, that adds up a lot. So that's how you wind up significantly fatter. And basically, what happens is you wind up looking normal in clothes, and then without the clothes on, you look fat and disgusting. And it's because you're doing a bunch of cardio and tearing up all your muscle, and it's not good, right? So the antidote to that is training with weights, training for strength, right? And the good news is that all that muscle mass that you lose between the age of 25 and the age of 55, in that prior example with that guy, right? That muscle mass doesn't actually like go away per se. It doesn't disappear. It's still there, it just shrinks. So it's a much smaller percentage. It's of what it used to be. The cells are smaller. So you can go ahead and start training, and within, let's say, 3 to 6 months, you can completely undo what you've done for the last 30 years. So that's the good news. The bad news is that's going to be hard. Most people aren't going to want to do it. You're so set in your ways from doing cardio over all these years, right? That all sucks. But the even better news is that if you stick it out through those 3 to 6 months, you've regained what you lost over the last, however many years. And then if you keep going, now all of a sudden, within, let's say, like 9 months to a year, you are now the strongest and most physically capable you've ever been in your entire life. So that is actually exactly what happens if you start training. Let's say you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s. You see it all the time, and you've never lifted weights before, or just not to a serious degree, and you've done a lot of cardio, or you've just been totally sedentary, right? You kind of get the same effect from being sedentary, obviously. So training undoes all that. It's great. That's why you should do it, right? I think that's all I wanted to say about this topic. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Send me a message. Sign up for the gym. Start your Strength Boston, right? Other than that, I don't want to hear anything else about it. Cardio makes you fat. That's it. Have a good day.